All right, welcome everybody to another Rogue World podcast. I'm with an amazing individual who I look up to, watch all of his content, communicate with when it comes to, kind of what's going on in the world. Where's the best place for me to kind of help a lot of people in the world? And that's Ian. Ian, thank you so much
Dude.
for
Thanks
joining us today.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for coming up.
Man, before we start talking about this, we're just gonna dive in. Everybody that's listening, we just started talking about a lot of personal growth, all that stuff. I want to just go right into that.
Sure.
So come back and tell me a little bit more about the anchors, what that is, why is it important? Like everything that you're talking about.
Yeah. So basically, you were saying, hey, I want to talk about something you haven't talked about in other podcasts, and I want to talk about something that is important to you, but not everybody knows. And what I was explaining was I run a coaching group, community, whatever you want to call it, on the side, called the Free Collective. And the main focus is not what most coaching groups do. The focus is literally what I believe has given me the ability to be who I am and be where I am and do what I'm doing.
Okay.
Which is a lot of self-work, which is a lot of digging deep into my past and ripping up those floorboards and seeing the nasty stuff that exists underneath, right? Wow. And then being able to clean it. And it's like, most people don't do that, number one, because for some reason we've created this society where people feel like if you're seeing a therapist or you're getting help from a third party, that it's like some kind of weakness. It's actually a massive strength. Being able to have that third party opinion or perspective literally can change your life forever, and it has mine. Like I'm just being totally upfront. Like I've seen counselors, I've seen therapists, and I've gone and done this work with people because the fact of the matter is that I know that I knew at the time that something was off, right? So what I was explaining to you was most of the time, if not all of the time, everyone is controlled or every part of their life is dictated by the experiences that they've had in their past. And the reason why is because those experiences, this is going to be a lot of cliches and sound really cliche, but I mean, it's the truth. They become what you like anchors. Okay. So like the symbol, and this is not a plug, just so you guys know, I'm just telling you how it is, but the symbol for my coaching community is an anchor and a shovel. Reason why is because they're anchors. Those bad experiences that we've had, those are anchors that just drop down and keep your ship, if you will, stuck at shore. And until you're able to dig those up and realize what each of those represent, you cannot move forward. You just can't. Even though you think you might be, I promise you, you're not actually moving forward. And that's where all these business gurus or whatever you want to call them like to say, well, you're not reaching your full potential. They're tapping the surface of what it means to reach your full potential, because your full potential will never be reached until you can realize what's holding you back, but not just this everybody says that, right? It's literally what about you and your past experiences are actually keeping you from being who you want to be, because you are actually creating it. Because the other thing I was explaining to you was what these experiences do is they form a lens. So it's almost like you literally put on a pair of sunglasses at that time, and then that lens is how you see the world. It's every decision you make, every opportunity you're faced with, every relationship you have, everything is dictated by the way you see the world. That's a reality, right? Yeah. But the problem is most people don't even know they're wearing those lenses. They walk around every single day looking at situations in ways that they never should, and they don't even realize it because that's all they know. And until they're willing to go and actually figure this out, dude, it literally holds them back forever. So if you want to do something, we can.
I'm in. Let's go.
It's going to be
all the way.
But you have to be brutally honest.
Okay, let's go.
You may reveal things that you never have.
All right.
Okay, so if you had to think of the 5 worst experiences in your life from the time you were 2 until now, no matter how dark, no matter how awful they are, don't think too hard. Just boom, what comes to mind? First 5.
Being burned alive.
Okay, burned alive. What else?
Doing the haka by myself when I was in New Zealand and not knowing the whole thing.
Okay. What was that experience like in the moment?
Embarrassing.
Okay, but what do you remember vividly? Because it's not about experiences, it's about moments.
Okay.
In that experience.
Well, where I was and what I was
Yeah,
doing.
like everything. What did it look like?
I was a LDS missionary. There was probably 30 other missionaries, and I'm like, hey, let's do the haka for these elderly couple that are going to leave the mission. And another elder said, oh, I'm not going to join you, but like kind of laughed. And a couple others said, oh, we'll join you. Don't worry. So I was a new missionary at the time coming, and I was like, hey, I know like the first half, so I'll start it. And then like you guys can like join me. Started it, totally embarrassed myself in front of everybody. And they all like just laughed like crazy. And like, I didn't know the whole thing. So
Okay.
just like, that's like one of the other.
Okay. That's 2. 3.
Oh man.
Just what
I'm
came to mind?
I'm trying to really think like the time that I drank too much when I was just newly divorced.
Okay.
And called my now wife, and she broke up with me.
On the spot.
Oh yeah, she was like, I'm done, like this is it.
Okay. That's 3.
Shoot. Now I'm just trying to like pick well, I'm not even trying to pick, I'm just trying to think of probably the other time is a time that like really made me feel like scared or like concerned was the time that I actually saw my mom grab my brother and like put his chest on her arm and like slammed him up against the wall. And I remember she's like, if you want to go, I can go. Like my brother's being a
She's
brat.
gonna get in a fight with your brother.
Yeah. And like that's probably 4. 5 was probably the 5th one was probably a little bit more recent.
I was just gonna say it can be recent. It actually should be.
Well, I like the number one thing that I keep thinking of is like I've had a lot of thoughts of like suicide, and it's like just multiple thoughts, and it's not a thought of like, it's just like a thought of like walking through it, and it's more based upon because of my PTSD, because I'm sick of going to bed and then and going through my episodes every night, like being burned alive every single night.
Yep.
Right? So like sometimes you wake up and you're like, this could stop right now if I did X, Y, and Z. Obviously I have a lot more to live for.
Sure.
So there's reasons. And like,
Sure.
you know, but there are dark things, yeah, that I work through.
Okay. So think about this. If you consider that those, and there's probably more, but let's just say you consider those are your anchors.
Okay.
Those are the things that are holding your ship back, if you will, right? Well, now you figure out, okay, as you dig those up, what were the feelings that you felt, exact feelings that you felt while that was while those things were happening? Like, what did you feel being burned alive, other than pain, obviously?
Fear.
And fear, lots of fear, right? Okay. What was that? Describe the fear. Was it fear of the fire? Was
Fear
it
for my life.
Why though? What were you afraid of most? Why were you fearing for your life? What about your life made you fearful?
There was so much more to do, so much more in my life to get done.
Okay.
Like missed opportunity.
Okay.
You know.
Yep. And then your mom putting your brother up against the wall. What'd you feel?
Unsafe.
Okay. Unsafe.
So fear again, like mostly.
Okay. What was the next one? Your girlfriend breaking up with you?
Yeah.
What'd you
My
feel?
now wife.
Congrats, by the way. It's awesome.
Disgusted.
Disgusted.
Probably like with myself of like being able to like, obviously this was a while ago, but like just ashamed and embarrassed,
Okay.
you know,
Yep.
of letting myself go without my control.
And the haka?
That was embarrassment because I did embarrassment straight up.
Okay.
Just embarrassed
Okay.
because those around me that I looked up to set me up for failure.
Okay. So, based on all that, right? Again, I'm not perfect at it, but I would say that you have operated most of your life in a fearful way of being abandoned. Fear of not having the support that you need. And so a lot of the decisions you make, you don't go all in all the time because you're afraid that if you do, you won't have the support to pull you the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
That's exactly what I'm working through with my therapist right now.
That's weird. So that's the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the lens that you're seeing the world from. You're literally seeing the world every single day from a place of, I am afraid of making decisions because I don't think people are going to be there for me, or I don't think I'm going to be able to do it myself, or people aren't going to be there to support me. So of course you're not going to put yourself out there. That's why you aren't who you should be right now, and that's why you won't be unless you can break it.
Yeah.
And that's why your ship will stay stuck.
Wow.
So now you start thinking about exact decisions that you've made, exact opportunities that you've lost, exact relationships that you've had, and the exact situations you've been in. And every single one of them will be dictated by that lens. And what's crazy is, and this is what I help my people figure out, it sounds simple, and it really is. All it is changing that. So now I'll get vulnerable with you. My life, the anchors that I've carried around have all been based around, have all created a lens for me of, I'm not going to be chosen. So like, I'll go through them really quick because I won't spend tons of time. But when I was 16, my mom left me. She didn't say anything. She just up and left, right? I got a call. She was in Florida with her boyfriend. That was it. I was bullied 3 years in middle school, every single day, jumped by the same people every single day, basically for 3 straight years. And one day specifically, it got so bad that he like stomped my head into the pavement, and I like went out. I was like, and I thought I was gonna die. And so that's the other one. The other one is I dated a girl throughout high school, and then I left on my mission, and it was like fine, and there was no problems or anything like that. And then she just ghosted me, like just absolutely, that was it. It was done, and never answered. And then like a year and a half after I'd totally gotten over her and it was totally fine and everything, I get a letter that's talking about how I was awful and how I never, like I wasn't good for her, and how she's realized this and that and blah, blah. And obviously I had moved way past that. So it wasn't like really impactful other than the fact that it was just like another dig, right? And then a few years later, after I'd gotten back, I was dating another girl, and long story short, I proposed to her and she said no. She said I wasn't ready to get married. Little did I know she had like she was cheating on me emotionally with some other dude that she knew forever, and then she got married a month later. And then more recently, just a few years later, with my current father-in-law, which we're good, like we have a great relationship, but at the time, long story short, we got in a crazy fight one night at his house, and he basically told his daughter in front of the entire family that she should divorce me because I'm not good enough and because I'm a narcissist and all this other crazy stuff, right? So all of those experiences created this lens in my mind of like, people won't choose you. Like, no matter what you do, you'll never be chosen. And that, bro, I was in door-to-door sales for 10 plus years. Do you know what I did for those 10 plus years? I fought every single day to do what?
Get chosen. To
make people choose me. But guess what that did to me? It made me toxic to work with. It made me constantly seeking validation. So I was always like in a place of, I need you to accept me, and I don't accept myself.
Yeah.
And I was always worried about what people thought of me when it didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
Even to the point where I started creating my now social media influence that I have, right? The reason why I was able to build that is because I finally stopped caring what people thought. Do you know that you know how I always play metal? I'm a big metalhead. Okay. I actually played other music on my social media posts prior to like this all happening, because I didn't think people would accept me if they knew what kind of music I listened to. It's that stupid of a thing.
Yeah.
But that all stemmed from my lens.
Yeah.
Once I was able to actually dig up those anchors and realize that, all I had to do was say, oh, yeah, that's not real.
Is that something that you have to keep working on to make sure those anchors don't get planted again, or?
I don't know if it's something that, the anchors will never get planted again. The anchors are up. They're never going down again. But what I will tell you is, it's not as easy as just saying, okay, they're gone.
Yeah.
Because you're still going to have situations where you find yourself thinking, those thoughts again.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of, now you're aware of it.
Yeah.
So now I catch it. Before I didn't even catch it because I didn't know it. But now I'm like, oh, this is why I'm thinking this. Well, that's not real. And the interesting thing, and this is what I was getting at when I was talking about what I do with my group, is every single one of us, like, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the most successful viral businessman on the planet or you're not. We're all ordinary people. And I know that more than ever now because I've met a lot of these people and I'm friends with them. And it's like, dude, they're just people.
Yep.
But they're ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Yep. There's only one thing that separates them, and that's time and effort. Two things, time and effort. But what a lot of people don't understand is those people, the majority of the time, have done what I'm talking about. And they've figured it out. But then on top of that, and that next piece is understanding, okay, how do I turn this into opportunity? How do I flip it on its side? And so, for example, one of the main reasons why I do what I do is because I don't ever want people to feel like they're not chosen. So I create spaces where people feel chosen. So what is the Patriot movement all about? Well, I made thousands of people during a time where no one seemed to be choosing them because of their beliefs and because of what they stood for, feel like, oh, this guy and the people around him and this community are choosing me, regardless of what we may believe. And then my whole brand of patriotism is not partisan and unity, well, why? Because the more people feel chosen, the more people feel like doesn't matter what you believe or where you stand, you're still a human being and you're still a good person as long as you're not, we won't get into that, but there's lines obviously. But like, as long as you're on the line of like, hey, we're still good people, like you shouldn't ever feel like you're not chosen just because of what you believe or where you stand.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I 100% agree.
All of that came from the work that I did on myself. And what I try to help my people understand is you don't need a blueprint. You don't need some 5-step thing. And by the way, anybody that tells you there is something like that, it's a lie, because if there was, everybody would be rich and powerful.
Yep.
But on top of that, you have everything you need. It's just a matter of tapping into whatever that talent or skill or ability is that you have, and then learning how to use today's tools, social media and all these other things, to create opportunity from it. And that all stems from understanding what people call your why, which is what you just figured out. Your why is to what? Ultimately.
Just feel included and just make sure that I have people around me that I can rely on.
No, your why is to make people feel safe.
True.
Why do you help people with their business?
To help them make more money, to be safe, and to get more opportunities. Yeah, I was just about to say, when you're going through that and talking, like, Rogue, like, didn't start really progressing until I looked back on myself and I realized, because like you said, like, my biggest thing, what I reflected on myself was I would rely on somebody and they'd always let me down, right? I'd be like, we're friends, ride or dies, I'm there for you. The moment I went to them and I was like, hey, I need you, they're like, nah.
They're not going to be there.
So what I told myself right before I started Rogue is like, if I tell somebody that I'm there for them, I'm going to be there for them.
You know what's really interesting is when I was first thinking about what your lens might be, it was the first thing that came into my head. I didn't say, but the first thing actually came to my head, and I know now it sounds like, well, sure, but I mean, it's the truth. It was actually distrust. I was going to ask you if you're a very trusting person and if people can trust you, because a lot of that also stems from the fact that you probably feel, along with that fear, that you can't necessarily trust people as much and that you kind of have to rely on yourself. But because you're so focused on relying on yourself, you see what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like, the biggest things that I've kind of learned, especially in this entrepreneurial journey, is, like, I found my core people, and then I also found, like, we'll talk about Jason Haugen because he'll be totally cool about it.
Jason's awesome. I love Jason.
He's the man.
We just did a show together.
Yeah. I know. We were listening to it, and so, but Jason, like, I promised myself that I'd show up to people that I believed in. So, like, when Jason was talking about his, what kind of setup and everything, what I did is I went to Pictureline, bought his whole setup for him, and then when I said, "That's your baby gift.
That's awesome.
Like, here you go," because, like, I'd want somebody like me to show up that way and be like, you know what? I can take care of you, because I've set myself up to make sure I can take care of friends.
Yeah.
But I also know that that's because you've invested into me, right? We've done tons of things together. We've flown all over the place with each other, and we've really relied on each other. And that's something I've had to learn hardcore because, like, I mean, ever since I've always had abandonment issues until probably about, 3 or 4 years ago, once I actually, started getting help and started realizing, going through those mindset things, then you saw, and all of a sudden, Rogue blooms from, almost everyone's like, oh, it just came out of nowhere. But it's like, well, there was so much work. And then all of a sudden, like you said, you flip it, right? You're like, hey, well, if I felt abandoned by people, well, how can I help people feel safe and that they won't be abandoned?
Yes. But you also have to be careful because when you said that you've had like suicidal thoughts, where that's coming from, and again, I'm not like
You're
perfect
good.
at this, but you felt abandoned, right? And so you flipped it on its head to help other people not feel abandoned. But the dangerous thing that we can do is a lot of the time when we focus so much on making other people feel a certain way, it's because we don't want to face the fact that we are constantly feeling the way that we're trying to make people not feel. And so you're doing so much work for other people, you don't do the work on yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a major, major problem because it will eventually catch up.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you need to continue to do what you're doing to make people feel the way you are, but then you also need to realize, man, like, you need to stop abandoning yourself. Like, you say you feel
I
abandoned.
appreciate that.
You need to stop abandoning yourself.
Yeah.
You need to start, and I'm not, there's a bunch to that, right? But it's more like, just be conscious of the fact that you're good, man. Like, you got it. Like, life's hard and it's going to freaking kick you in the face multiple times, but you'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, that's the biggest thing that I've like with one thing that, anybody that listens is, and I want to preference with just real quick is because like suicidal thoughts, everyone has them in some point. With PTSD,
It's different.
particularly, I don't have PTSD like, I'm not saying I'm like a veteran or anything to that extreme, but because I do have PTSD and medically have it and everything and go through those things, like it's just another layer.
Sure.
It's like you have the anchor, but then you also have this thing that's like deep within your mind that takes so much meditation. In fact, I talked to Matt about it on the last podcast, Matt Vincent.
Oh yeah.
And
Shout out.
figuring
Walking
out
billboard right now for him.
yeah, there you go. Like
makes good
there's
stuff.
a couple of things down in Mexico that I've been looking into to find like that they have a success rate of fully
Like
recovering
ayahuasca
from that.
and stuff like that.
It's deeper than that. I can't remember what it's called. I'll have to reflect on it, but it's like that, but it's more medical.
Sure.
And it helps you to just fully get that over. But
Sure.
man, I never thought that this conversation would go this way,
Most people don't.
but I'm happy that
I don't. It's because, dude, and people are going to tell me I'm wrong for saying this, but like, it's because this is not the part of this is not what I'm constantly sharing, because I reserve this for, quite frankly, people that I care about, and also like my community, right? Like it's not that I don't ever talk about this stuff, but like this isn't the focus. And I think part of it is because I've kind of gotten to a point where, man, I just look at the entrepreneur space sometimes. And I mean, dude, 5 years ago, I was looking at it like a lot of other people are, and it's just like in awe with some of these guys and some of these people and what they're doing. And it's just like, to be honest, man, now that I've like met a lot of them and I'm behind the scenes and I see the reality, and I'm building a business now, so now I know what it actually takes to build a business and what really happens. It's just like, bro, it's such garbage. It's such smoke and mirrors.
Yep.
And it's so chaos. It's so cancerous.
Yeah.
And it's what it is it's a bunch of people who are trying to get rich and famous fast and not doing the actual work. And it's, people ask me a lot of the time, like, because dude, I'm not a flashy person. I just never have been. And to be honest, man, like I'm I'm building a business, but I'm just an average Joe that's just like, I don't fly in private jets and I don't have all this other stuff. And it's like, people literally ask, well, like, how do you network? How do you get in these circles? And dude, what's really interesting is these people have found me.
Yeah. A lot of times we want you around us.
They found me. And it's like, well, why? Well, because I'm doing something. And I know that sounds really like, what does that mean? Well, I don't know. I don't know how to explain. I'm building something, and like, that's what I try to show people is like, look, so many people are going to try and get rich quick. Even the people that are telling you they have the secret to get rich quick are trying to get rich quick. But the fact of the matter is, you listen to some of the most successful business people, and I mean really successful people that actually have billion-dollar companies. Listen to what they say, and it's always the same message. Work your ass off. There is no shortcut. Most of these guys, what's really interesting too that I find is, you talk about these guys and their like blow up or whatever, and almost every time, I don't know if you've noticed this, but it's 10 years. Have you ever noticed that? That number comes up every single time. Well, guess what? Before I was iWenster, before everybody knew my social media and all that stuff, bro, I was posting every single day, multiple times a day for 10 plus years. And like, no one knows that, but I was the Snapchat guy that had like 50 something thousand dots, and it'd be like, no, I'm not watching this.
Yeah.
But like, I put in the work, right? And that's just a small example, but it's like, now I'm building a business and we're nowhere near where I want to be. But I will tell you this right now, I'm year 2 of year 10 of these other guys that are in billion-dollar businesses. This will be a billion-dollar business, and it will be the largest pro-American, pro-freedom, patriotic apparel brand in the world. And I know that for a fact, but it's like, it's going to take time.
I believe that.
And I hate how much people skip over that, because this will get into kind of what you were talking about with when you said you want to dive into like entrepreneurship and the government and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I always say something, and I think it's really powerful. It's expedient. You hear money is the root of all evil. No, it's not. Expediency is the root of all evil. Like, getting things fast or faster than they should be, that's the root of all evil, because that's apathy, and that's entitlement, and that's lack of choice, right? When someone robs someone, why do they do it? Because they want money fast, and they don't care about who they're hurting.
Yep.
The vices all come from a place of, I want something faster than I can get it the right way, right? Now you look at, okay, so freedom of choice. Dude, look at the way the world is going, and it's like, freedom is not just people being told what to do by the government. We've gotten to a place where most of society has actually voluntarily given up their freedom of choice. And I'm not talking about people that are just, I'm going to wear a mask. I'm talking about people that say, I don't want to do the work. I just want you to give me whatever it is that you can, and I don't want to have to work for it. It's the idea of, pay me $15 an hour and I'm not going to do anything for it. That's the definition of lack of free agency.
Yeah.
You're literally saying, I don't want to choose. I don't want to work. I just want you to tell me what to do,
just give me
how to do it, and give it to me. And that is literally the plan of Satan.
Yeah.
It's his blueprint.
Yeah.
And whether you believe in God or Satan or whatever, but like, that's evil is the idea that you can't control the outcome.
Yeah.
And that you don't want to.
Yeah.
And that's the scariest part, is most people nowadays don't want to control the outcome. They want it to be controlled for them, which is why we are where we are.
Yeah.
So, that's why entrepreneurship is so important.
Yeah, I think that, from everything I've watched, communicated with you, everything, I have, from your example, because I look up to you, obviously, and figuring out where my freedoms are being encroached upon, it's getting hard. Mm-hmm. Like, to be honest, like, when you've talked about all kinds of stuff, you've messaged me lists of things to buy and everything. And I'm like, honey, we got to buy these things. We got to buy multiple of these things. And I'm like, I'm going in, they're other companies. And the biggest thing that I reflect when I watch your stuff is that you're trying to help people understand that these are ways that their freedoms are being taken away and how they are choosing to give those freedoms up. And, going into entrepreneurship and everything, people, they think, oh, hey, the answer is to be an entrepreneur. And then I'm going to do something that makes me a ton of money really fast. And then I'm going to get in trouble. But I don't care about the trouble. I care about the ride of having all this money really, really fast, buying all the things I want to. I was just on a podcast with Young OG Perspective, and they were talking about, well, like, why don't you drive a really nice car? And I'm like, because it's not about, I don't need to buy the nice car because I don't need other people to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to buy a nice car when I'm like, okay, I'm going to put it in my garage that I can put it, and I can treat it the way I want it and everything. I don't need it for others.
Well, not only that, and it's like, why does it matter?
Yeah.
No, really, think about it. Just, let's talk about this for a minute.
Yeah.
Why does it matter what car you drive? Who decided one day that it matters what car you drive? Who decided?
I don't know.
Who the hell cares? Who decided?
Exactly.
Who decided what you drive or where you live or what you do actually matters more than what you're doing? That's the difference.
Yeah.
The difference is really, really successful people, like, they have their fancy things.
Because they want them.
Because they want them, not because they think other people want them.
Yeah.
But so many people exist in a place of, I have to impress other people. I have to do this in order to be somebody. And it's like, they allow this stuff to define them. And that's all part of it, dude. That's all part of this whole, you are literally giving up your ability to be a sovereign individual. When you give people power, people that don't matter, quite frankly, power to control what you value and what you don't value, that's you're a slave. You're literally a slave to society. You're just a walking puppet for everyone else around you, and you're doing nothing to help you and the people around you in reality.
Yeah.
That's
like that was like entrepreneurship. Like everything that I see in entrepreneurship in one foul swoop. Because everyone just doing what other people think is cool to try to get as many eyes on them as possible.
I wouldn't even say it's entrepreneurship. I'd say it's posing. I'd say it's not. That's not entrepreneur, bro. You want to know what entrepreneurship is? Entrepreneurship is every single day feeling like everything around you is burning to the ground, and there's more problems than you can solve, and there's less people than you have to be able to do it, and there's constant pushback, and there's constant eyes on you, because there are, right? But more of like the eyes of like your family, because you need to provide and you need to put food on the table. And there's like, and amid all of that, it's having the resiliency to be able to put out all the fires, break down all the walls, and create all the opportunity you need to, and then go to bed and get up and do it every single day for the next forever.
Man,
that's entrepreneurship.
I feel that.
That's real entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
It's getting your dick kicked in every single day and being able to be resilient enough to keep pushing back and build.
Yeah.
And very, very few people can do that, because one thing happens and they crumble.
Yep. Yeah, one hard thing comes and they're like, oh no, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Someone else help me.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
it's just you.
Yeah.
Like, it's just you on this journey.
Yeah.
I've realized that. Like, that's, man, I didn't even think that this conversation would go this way. I just think that it's crazy how you know, your group of people, there's so many groups nowadays. Like, I have a coaching group, right? Mm-hmm. I've been part of a lot of coaching groups and everything like that. And a lot of it is like, oh, do this. This is how you're going to build your business and everything. But you take a whole new aspect of like, if you want to become a better entrepreneur or you want to be a better you, we need to come back and reflect. Now, once somebody's kind of built past those anchors and gone past, like, okay, they're not worried about being a poser. They don't give a crap about what other people do. They do what they want.
Yeah.
What would you say is their like next step?
Build a personal brand out of that.
Build a brand out of that.
Personal branding is the key to everything nowadays. Wow. There's like, people follow people. People buy people. People listen to people. People learn from people. Product, none of that matters. People don't. My business is not successful like it is, and we don't have the community like we do because of a t-shirt. We have it because of what that t-shirt and what the company represents, which is everything that I did building my personal brand on my personal social media platform. That's what launched the whole thing. And people continue to follow it. Some people find the brand, which is amazing. That's where we want to be, right? But a lot of the people follow me and are following what I'm doing and are like, I'm doing my best to create a space for people to feel like they want to be a part of what Official Patriot Gear is, right? Or my coaching or whatever it is. But personal branding is the key to success. Like there's no way around it. The future lies with people who are going to be able to create real influence, real positive influence in the masses. And the only way you do that is by building a personal brand. And so then it's a matter of, okay, once you figure this out, now it's time to build your brand. Well, most people say, well, what is that?
Yeah.
It's really simple. What are the things that are important to you? We've figured out why you tick. Okay, well, now what's your message? Your message revolves around that. Okay, so now let's just talk about the simple tools of social media. You have 5 days in the week that you could post that most people are going to be really active, right? So, okay, teach them something, do something that goes viral, do something that is entertaining enough, do something that builds trust, and do something that shows vulnerability. And do it all around the one thing that you've identified as your why. And then have 3 or 4 things on the side that people just identify as you. So me, metal music, family, right? My business, sharing things to help people become aware of what's going on, and freedom, right? And then just the genuine side is just, dude, people follow me, they know me. Like, I'm not hiding anything. Yeah. People meet me in person, they're like, I feel like I know you. That's because you do. You see me and hear me every single day. So that's it. It's not like I hate it when I do people are like, well, it's that simple. Yeah, it is that simple. And then what do you do from there? You just post every single day, multiple times a day. You want to be the person that people wake up to and the person that people go to sleep to. And that message is the one that you want in their head when they wake up and the one that is in their head when they go to sleep. And that's how you create influence. And then you just better damn well make sure it's a positive thing. Because otherwise you're creating negative influence and you're not helping, you're hurting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what well, that just broke it down real easy.
I mean,
like you just work, well, I mean, obviously the first part isn't easy because you gotta realize that you're looking through a lens, go through the anchors, then you're gonna build
That's the
this
hard
brand.
part.
That's the hardest part right there, that first part.
Yep.
So how do you run, if you don't mind me asking, and obviously you don't have to give any trade secrets of the group, how do you do that with a massive, or how do you do that with a group of people rather? Like you and me, we're sitting one-on-one. I'm a vulnerable guy. I'm more than happy to tell people how it is. And
Sure.
I've known you for a while.
Sure.
How do you do that with a group of people and help direct them through something like that?
I don't. The way I've done it with my group is I'll pull people in front. So like when we do our coaching call, for example, I'll pull one person up that's willing to be vulnerable, and I'll do what I just did with you, and I'll help them break down their anchors and figure out their lenses and everything like that. And I'll have everybody else pay attention to it. And then afterwards, I'll have them all talk to each other about their things. I think the best way for people to learn is to learn from others. Like the most impactful thing that has come from this coaching group is probably the fact that everyone in this group has realized that they're not different. Everyone has realized that, whatever you want to call it, skeletons in the closet, ugly, whatever, like everyone has these things.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of the time they're very similar. And they're things that you'd be like, there's no way anybody's dealt with this. I'm going to hide it from the world forever. I promise you, in a group of 10 people, there will be one person that has an experience that's identical or similar to yours.
Yeah.
And so what happens is these people realize, oh, I'm not alone. Like everyone is doing this. And they're all writing down their anchors and they're all being vulnerable and they're all explaining this, and everyone's now working together to figure out, why have I been looking at the world this way? Why have I made these decisions? And they help each other. And then I'll help where I can. But the fact is, dude, I can't do that on a mass scale. It's just impossible. People have to have the ability to do it themselves. And that's where the point of, I say this to my group all the time. I say, look, I cannot make you do what I'm asking you to do. I can only tell you how important it is, and then you have to decide to do it. Otherwise, this is not going to work for you, and you're wasting your time. And dude, most of the time, anytime I get somebody that wants to cancel, it's always the same thing. Well, I don't feel like I'm getting what I need out of this group. Okay, and my next question is, well, how many times have you done the homework that I've given you? Or how many times did you do this and this and this? And every single time, not some of the time, every time. No, I really haven't had the time to dedicate to this. Well, there it is. Because again, people want to have the answer, and they want someone to give them the key, and they want someone to stand there and turn the key for them. And that's the problem with society. But that's why it's a very small percentage of people that actually stand out in the crowd. Even in my group, there's a very small percentage of people that are always doing the homework, that are always doing the work, that are always following up, that are always growing. Everybody else just kind of, they're bystanders. And it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. And it's because you can't do that on a mass scale. That kind of work takes individual work.
Yeah.
What you can do is, once they've worked through that, you can help them understand what are some tools that you can do, to figure that out or to work through it. So like, one of the things that I used to teach when so for anybody that doesn't know, I was in the door-to-door sales space for over 10 years, and I actually built their training systems, and I ran all the training in the company, and I trained individual reps and leadership and everything. And so one of the things that I used to teach all the sales reps was the number one thing you need to have when you're selling is confidence, but not just confidence. You need to have you need to constantly put off the idea that you're the needed, not the needy. You need to basically eliminate any sense of desperation that you may have, which is the hardest thing, because most salespeople are based on what? Commission.
Yeah.
Right? So this is what you would call commission breath. Mm-hmm. They go up to a door, and all they're thinking in their head is, I got to get this sale. I have to get this sale. I want to get this sale. If I don't sell them, I can't pay for this. If I don't get this sale, I won't be able to do this. It's all those desperate thoughts.
Yeah.
And then the person can feel it.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't want anything to do with a salesperson, much less a desperate salesperson, right? So that desperation becomes a cancer. It's the same thing with this. So what I used to tell salespeople is, if you want to know the best way, or one of the best ways that I know of, to get rid of those thoughts and replace them with what you need to be, which is, instead of I got to get a sale, I'm going to get the sale, or when I get the sale, I will. Every single day, write down all of those thoughts on a piece of paper. And then when you get home at night, I would tell them, the person that you care about the most, that you trust the most, that you have the best relationship with, I want you to read them to that person.
Wow.
Every single night. And what happens is, all of a sudden they start getting to a point where they're writing that stuff down during the day, and they're saying, wait a second, I don't want to write this down, and I definitely don't want to have to say this to that person again. So it's accountability on both sides, right? And then all of a sudden something starts to happen, and they start to replace the thoughts. Instead of I have to get it, it's when I get it. Instead of I got to get this, it's I'm going to get this. It's the same thing with this, right? Whenever you think these thoughts of, man, I shouldn't do this because I wonder if I'm going to actually be able to have the support that I need, or whatever it may be, write it down. And then when you get home, tell your wife. Mm-hmm. Literally read it to your wife. And you're going to be disgusted. But it's enough that you're going to start thinking, how do I replace this? Yeah. What do I replace it with?
Yeah.
And that's just thought work, right? That's just a small thing that you can do, but like, it's individual. I can't do that for mass people.
Yeah.
They have to choose to do it. And if they don't.
Yeah. Wow, you gotta, this baby, after all of this, everyone's gonna just have all the things that they that they should be doing. Because like literally everything that you kind of talked about in a way is, it's not necessarily new information.
No, nothing's new.
And everything that you've said, like obviously like I've been like here, but to put it in a perspective of, okay, this is how you can do it. This is how you can break down these barriers. Then this is how you can build a personal brand. Here's the days. This is how you post in the morning and the night. Literally, if you're listening to this, what you've listened to in just this short amount of time is exactly how to build a better you, a better person on not having to worry, and how to build a personal brand, how to basically become a real successful entrepreneur that's willing to put in the work on yourself and others, rather than be like, I got to make all this money because this is what success looks like. I need to do X, Y, and Z, and then if I don't make this happen, it's gonna ruin my life.
And by the way, it's a hell of a lot easier to build a personal brand when you're someone who you are happy with, respect, and feel confident
When
about.
you're genuine.
Yeah, I mean, if you're constantly trying to build a personal brand when you're feeling like garbage and you're constantly self-sabotaging and all this, that's a fake brand, and we have enough of that.
Yeah.
Like, people need to start
Social media is filled with enough of
yeah,
fake.
dude, you need to start doing the self-work, and then you need to take that self-work and put it out there and show people what it means when you're actually doing it. And don't get me wrong, dude, like I'm not perfect. I still struggle. I still have my issues. I'm a father and I'm a husband, and I'm not a perfect husband and I'm not a perfect father. And like, yeah, I own a business, but I'm not a perfect business. Like, dude, I still have struggles, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm still a human being, but that's the point. The reason why I think the space is so toxic sometimes is because some of these people make it seem like they're like not human, like abnormal. And it's like, no, you're not. Even if you had the most money and the most success in the world, you are still a human being. You are still making mistakes every single day. You are still someone who is subject to emotions. You are still somebody who's subject to problems. You are still having the same amount of challenges that anybody else has. They're just different levels and different kinds. But you are still a human being, and stop making it seem like you're not, because it's not attainable, because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And people don't want to follow that. Or they may for a little bit, but they're going to figure it out eventually, and they're going to fall away.
Yeah.
If you want to create long-term influence, at least this is what I believe, and granted, I'm only freaking 36, so it's like I haven't been on the rock for super long, but I believe that the people that are following me now, if I continue to go the way I am, I believe they will follow me until the day I die.
Yeah.
And that is, and they'll follow after. And that is like, Alex Hormozy is one of the people that I consider actually really successful, and someone who's like, who's actually walking the walk and doesn't have anything to hide.
Yeah.
And it's cool because, I got to even talk to him we were at Summer Smash.
Yeah.
And I got to talk to him during the party or whatever. And what's so funny, dude, is we literally talked for like a half an hour. Guess what we talked about? It wasn't business. It wasn't marketing, and it wasn't sales. It was vampire movies and TV shows. No, I'm dead serious. We talked about the TV shows that he watches.
Heck yeah.
And we talked about 90s music. And we talked about how neither of us knew anything when it came to Rick Ross. And that's who was performing at the time, right? And it's like, why do I bring that up? Because those kind of people want genuine interaction just as much as they want to create genuine interaction. And you can see that, right? And that is what creates long-lasting influence. It's not the shallow end of the pool, it's the freaking deep end.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that actually like makes people feel like, man, this person's a human being. It's going to take a lot of work, but like I can get there.
Yeah.
And I think that there's far too much of this making people feel like it's not attainable, but also like trying to help them feel like they can get it, but also not. I literally went through years of that.
Yeah.
Of my career, of feeling like I was given a little bit of like responsibility and a little bit of success, but like it was always less than what it could have been, because they didn't want me to be more successful than them. And
that speaks, like, for me, especially just being the young, I'm 10 years younger, right? Yeah. Being the young gun, kind of coming in and everything, that speaks like blasts of truth in my ears, because like a lot of times when I'm talking with older, entrepreneurs and everything, they're like, yeah, do this. And they'll help you enough, but not enough to get to them.
No.
Because they don't want you to be them.
No.
They don't want you to get to them.
No.
And it's like, well, if I'm working to be you, I kind of need like that relationship where you can come to me and you can say, well, this is how I did it.
Right.
It sucked.
Right.
You know, one person real quick, shout out for him is like Greg Anderson. For me,
Yeah.
he's the kind of guy, he has nothing to hide. And he will tell you where the sun don't shine sometimes. And I've said, hey, can I have an hour with you, you know, every other week where I could sit down and you just tell me how you do your banking. Tell me how you do.
It's great. That's smart, dude.
He's like, this is how I bank. This is how I invest all my money. This is how I do all these things. This is how I avoid losses, and this is how I don't have to just seek gains. All those things. That's a diamond in the rough.
Sure.
You know, a lot of people, because they're posers, in a way of, yes, you can get sick. I feel, here's the thing that I think we need to just kind of touch on real quick is you can have success and not go through the work that you've talked about and be a poser, and you can have what the outward success. You can make money, you can do all these things, but what I think you're touching on is you won't have fulfillment.
Absolutely.
Of when you're talking with Alex and you're like, hey, I don't need to talk about business because my business is fine. I want to get to know you on a deeper level.
Yeah.
Like, let's connect.
Well, and it's because what I've realized, like I said, what I've realized of meeting these people and getting in these circles, the number one thing I've realized is that's what they want.
Yeah.
They want just genuine interaction. Like, people ask me a lot of the time, what's your advice on networking and what's your advice on meeting so-and-so? And I will tell them the same answer every single time, and it's going to make people laugh, but it's the truth. Don't stand in the line to shake their hand.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's like, what? Yeah, don't stand in that line. Instead, go to the event, listen to what they have to say, sit in the table, find somebody that's still sitting at the table, not standing in the line, go talk to them and figure out how to build something and make something and catch their attention.
Yeah.
And that's, like, they don't want the handshake.
Yeah.
They want someone contributing to the space. Just like, and the reason I know that is because that's what I want.
Yeah.
And I'm not on their level, whoever you want to talk about right now, because again, time and effort, right? I'm behind in time. I haven't put forth the effort yet, but like, that's what I want too.
Yeah.
I don't want someone to fanboy. I want somebody to go out and build something and come back and be like, and I want to be able to see it and be like, yo, that's sick.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
I feel like that, on a personal note, you and me, that you've done that to me a little bit. Because like I like when I talked to you about the first Rogue World and stuff, you're like, yeah, sure, I could. And then when I actually put it on and showed like, hey, I can contribute to a brand.
Sure.
That's when we actually started the conversation of like, hey, I'll be at the next one.
Sure.
Because you've shown me. This is the same thing with Matt Vincent, because like he was one of the first people I hit up.
Yeah.
And he was like, no. And then he saw what happened and that the effort and that there was something to benefit.
Yeah.
It wasn't me coming and saying, Ian, let me just suck all the blood out of you.
Yep.
Because I believe I'm a good guy and, you know, I'll wipe your tables. Well, I don't need someone to wipe my tables. I need somebody that will help my message or what I can do to change people, help change more people.
Yep.
I
You want
see
to
that
amplify
from
the
you.
influence. And again, that's why I bring up someone like Alex. Like, dude, the amount of knowledge and the amount of strategy and the amount of useful tools and the amount of things that guy gives away daily.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you saw his most recent like book launch, but he literally did a live launch and he had like, I don't remember how many millions of people, but it was unreal. It was like, he broke the internet. It was ridiculous. And he went for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes or something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but he basically went and sold his whole like online course and all the books and everything. He did what every other entrepreneur would do, right? And believe you me when I tell you this, if he would have actually sold it for the $30,000 a piece or whatever he was going to, he would have sold it.
Oh, yeah.
But instead, he said, oh, and by the way, at the end, he said, I'm not going to give it to you for $14,000 because we're going to do this. And he slashed it and he said, and it's not going to be $7,000 because we're going to do this. And he slashed it. And that all sounds like, oh, it's a funnel.
Yeah.
He got down to $1,500 or something like that. And he was like, I'm going to give it all to you for free.
Nice.
So he literally gave away his entire library of content for free.
So I ask you, why? Like, why would someone like that do that?
Because he understands that he's building influence past death. He literally nuked the self-development space in one live stream. Because what he said was, but just by doing that, he said, all of these gurus and all these marketers and all these people that are creating their courses for you, you obviously know that I have more knowledge than they do. I've scaled how many businesses now to how many figures, and I'm willing to give it all to you for free. So if that's the case, how many of these people are just leeching off of you? He literally nuked the whole space and all the fake gurus out there in one stream. And not only that, he put himself in a place where it was like, people now know Alex is not in it to take people's money. He's in it to truly create entrepreneurs in the entrepreneur space so that they can contribute to the industry and the world as a whole. And that's his message. That's always his message. And he stayed true to that message. And that's why someone like Alex, dude, his influence and his company and his business and all that, it's going to last past death. Because it's not just this quick grab. He's playing the long game. It's not the short game. And that's why I bring him up when we talk about, genuine, like real care for people and genuine influence. That's genuine influence. And it's few and far between in this space, which is a big reason why I don't get out there as much, because I can't stand it. It drives me nuts because I'm like, dude, I know what this is. I know what it takes. And all these people think that there's a shortcut, and there's not. And honestly, going back to the whole government thing, or the country in general, that's why we are where we are, because people want the shortcut and they're not willing to do the work or take the time. And entitlement is going to be our downfall.
Wow. Well, man, thank you.
Yeah, dude.
Thank you for all this. I always think about how a podcast will go. When we drive up and everything, we're listening to podcasts and be like, oh, we're going to ask this question. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I usually walk in the door and I say, stuff it. Like I've met Ian before. I know his story. I've listened to his stuff. Let's just talk.
Yeah.
Because the reason that you are of value in my life is because of you now, not you yesterday. Mm-hmm. And man, I just really appreciate you being on this podcast.
Sure, dude. Anytime.
And I'm excited for you in Rogue World 2024.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm pumped for
It'll
that.
be fun.
Dude. And this is exactly what I want.
Okay.
At Rogue World 2024.
Cool.
Like Patriot Gear, I love it. I love the business that you're building. There is success. We can see that. And it's great. But I want barriers broken.
Cool.
That's what I want.
Cool.
That's what Rogue World is built for.
We'll make it happen.
So
as long as people are willing to do the work, dude. Yeah.
Real quick, what's the best way for people to find you?
So the best way is Instagram. That's my biggest platform by far. It's iWenster, IWENDTSTER. I do have a backup. It's iWenster2. I have no other accounts. There's like 20 plus out there. They're all fake. If they talk to you about crypto, I don't know crap about crypto, nor do I care about it, so it's garbage. Don't listen to them. Don't follow them. Don't message them. I also just started my Rumble, which is I'm going to be dropping like docuseries that I create personally, which a lot of people seem to like.
What's the best way for somebody to find that Rumble?
It's the same thing. It's just iWenster. So I have the channel, and then you have my page. It's all iWenster.
Okay.
IWENDTSTER. And then obviously my brand, Official Patriot Gear. The Instagram is The Official Patriot Gear, and then our website is officialpatriotgear.com.
What about your coaching group?
And the coaching group is the Free Collective. So the Instagram, I think, is like the_free_collective. And if you want to join, the best way, I don't do like funnels and all that kind of garbage. If you actually want to join the Free Collective, I believe right now I want to say it's like $219 a month, but we have a discount going for $97 a month. And then we have our first live event in October 20th oh my gosh, Cedar Hills, Utah. Speakers are me and Ryan Mickler, if anybody knows who he is. He's the Order Man guy. Mm-hmm. And we have a couple other speakers I don't want to talk about right now, but it's going to be really cool. It's going to be a much more intimate thing. So like I'm limiting it to 100 tickets.
Nice.
And it's $97 if you're a member of the coaching group, or it's $200 if you're not. And then if you want the after party, it's an extra 100, I believe. I literally made it like bare bones. It's like $300 total if you want to go to the entire thing. We're not making any money. my biggest thing is like, I just want people to get there so that you can experience it.
Yeah.
And like, it's going to be much more transformative than it is, you know, just someone pitching you something or even just teaching something.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be really in depth and really intimate.
Love it.
So yeah, that's.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, if you want to join the group, DM me. I always just have people DM me freedom. That way I can actually catch it in my DMs, and I'll hook you up.
Oh yeah. Love it. Yeah. Well, thank you, man.
Cool. Thanks, bro.